Well, welcome everybody. We're going to maybe be able to get onto Facebook too, Julia, right? Once we have folks here. Terrific. Welcome. Nice to see some new faces tonight too. Okay, marvelous. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Missy Shipman with Missy's Gladheart Studio. And once again, I'm so happy to have the privilege and pleasure of partnering with Julia and the Baldwinsville Public Library to bring to you a fun card making class to share my love of paper crafting and color and ink. And today my hands are extra inky. I was stamping today with some wonderful kids at the Y. So first I'll give you, this is a look at the things we can be creating together tonight, but then I'll set them aside for a moment to show you what I did today with the kids at the Y. There were 120 kids, 5 groups of 20 some kids that we got to play with ink and stickers and stamps and paper today. So they made this fun set of cards that are shaped cards, and they loved using the Stamparatus tool to create the greetings and had such a good time. Theirs are always a lot more creative and fun than mine, but this is my example just to show you the fun we had. And you'll recognize the popsicle one when we work on that tonight. But I wanted to show you this fun pocket that I made with a paper bag. I folded up the paper bag and stitched it with my sewing machine. So this is something fun I'm going to be doing for one of our fall classes. I've got some great ideas with some apples and pumpkins and things, some fun papers. So I think it will be for the October kit. You can look forward to a pouch that I'll sew for you that we can put some fun goodies in. Okay. I hadn't sewn on paper very much before, and I really enjoyed it and had a great time making these for the kiddos. So let me just tuck that inside, but that's kind of a sneak peek. It won't be summer themed. It will be a fall harvest themed for you folks in October. Okay. So let me show you a little bit more about the cards for tonight, because we are using some kits. Some of you, it will look a little familiar to you. This is part of the Hope kit that was available and that we used at the library in the past several months. And I love the bright colors. I think they're perfect for summertime fun. And so I just use the pieces in a little bit different way. And what we'll start with tonight is this little envelope pouch. So if you'd like to take out from your white packet of all the treasures in here, I love the sound that this kind of paper makes. It's sort of like a bakery bag or something. There's nothing good to eat in here tonight, except the popsicle will remind you of something good to eat. But this is really nice. Lightweight paper that you could use to make wrapping paper with. If you wanted to stamp images on this, you can slice it, of course, so then you can open it up. But I like this lightweight paper. It is a little bit sheer, so whatever is inside, you might want to put tissue around or something to kind of make it a surprise. But hopefully you can get some good use reusing this white bag, which I love the sound of that. So inside are lots of treasures, and the things that we're going to use first are 2 of the envelopes. So there are 4 total in your kit. This one is, let's see, hopefully you have the popsicle part. Looks like my kit here. Sometimes my kits don't have all the pieces because I give the ones that are complete to Julia. I will find it though before we get to that part. What you want to do is pick 2 of your envelopes to make the little book. I'll open it up for you so you can see. This is some really pretty ribbon that's this blackberry bliss color, and I tied it and I made a little pocket with 2 of the envelopes so that you could put a gift card inside, you could put a photo inside, you could put money or a love note inside, and it's very easy construction. I'm going to show you how. But you can see I just took 2 of the envelopes, and I set aside this one that has some pretty yellow on it that can be used for a different project. But these 2 that have those, the purpley and the teal color. So you'll need that, and then your piece of ribbon, and some of these little sequiny gems. And then there should be a large circle. Let me pull one of my other bags. Hold on just a moment. This one does. Okay, terrific. So this one has the fun twine that we'll be using, and it also has this kit. So before we, oh, and it has a nice circle. In this little pocket that has the popsicle card, there's some extra pieces. There's the largest circle, and we'll use that for the envelope, the little envelope pocket. So before I go much further, I want to remind you that you're welcome to use the supplies any way you like. So you might choose to use this ribbon on one of your cards or for a different project altogether. So just enjoy watching tonight and having fun. If you want to stamp along with me and create along with me, I invite you to do that. But sometimes people like to kind of get a view of all the things first, so they can know how they might like to use the paper in combination with other things you have in your collection. But if you'd like to make the pocket with me, you're going to pick 2 of your envelopes. Okay, and you'll fold on that score line. I had a funny story to tell you with the young children that I was stamping with this week and another group at the Y camp a couple weeks ago. Many of them this was very foreign to them, the idea of envelopes. And I thought, wow, they just hadn't had exposure to sending cards or receiving cards. And so one group didn't understand how there's adhesive on the envelope, and they put glue and glue and glue and glue to close it up. Some of them just weren't sure what you would do, how you would share this. So it was really fun having conversation with them about where you put your name, the name of the person you're giving it to, and the address, right? And then where you put the postage stamp for the mail, and how you have your return address. So that was really kind of fun learning for me to share this generation that hasn't had that exposure to sending cards or receiving cards. But they were so delighted today to make the projects to send to their cousin in California, or their uncle, or their little brother that was having a birthday. So it was a lot of fun. Now, to put together the little envelope folio here, or kind of a little wallet, you're just going to tuck one flap inside the other. And then this part will just fold over. So on my original sample, this was the front envelope. Now on my second one, I have this yellow piece behind. So I'll do that again. If you want the butterfly to be the front, then you're going to tuck the yellow envelope into the butterfly one, so that when we fold that flap over, we've got a splash of pink here. And it looks like I used a different one from my sample, but that's okay. Okay, so now you'll see how you've got this opening here with the 2 pockets inside. All right, so where we're going to add our adhesive is on this flap, which becomes the back of our pocket. And I'm going to use my Tombow adhesive here. There is adhesive, of course, you can moisten this gum adhesive to secure it. But if you have a liquid glue or a little tape runner kind of seal or snail, that will work to fold that right over. Now, this didn't offend me to have these colors here. I liked that there was a splash of color, but I did want to secure my ribbon on the front and on the back. So sometimes when you make a portfolio like this, you might take a large piece of paper to kind of cover this whole seam. But because I want the patterns to show, I'm not going to worry about covering this piece, okay? So now here's my front. And I'll take my ribbon, this special kind of gauzy ribbon, and fold it in half. And that's going to wrap around the top of the folder here, of the wallet. And then I'm going to wrap it around and tie a bow down here at the bottom. And this is so that I know where to secure the circle and the shape on the back of the envelope. Now, I love to tie bows. Some people are frustrated to make it straight. The trick to know with this one is people are going to tie it and untie it and tie it and untie it. It's meant to have that vintage frayed look. So don't overthink the tying. Just, it's like tying your shoes. You're going to make the bow and it will be ready then for someone to untie and retie. Now for the front of my folio, I used a large stamp that says hello. So if your stamps that you borrowed from the library, if there's a greeting or an image that you like, you can place it here. This is also a great spot. You could use markers to write a personalized message or make a monogram for whoever you're giving the wallet to. I want to show you about the ink pads. If you have your ink pads from the library, it's an older style pad, and I want to help you be sure to know how to open it. So where it has these 3 dots right here, I think that's my phone trying to call, but can you still see me okay? All right, so we're just going to try to get it so that it can show a little bit better positioning here. I think that's about as much as I'm going to be able to get over there. All right, friends, I want to show you how to open the pad if you have this kind, and it has 3 dots. And then you're going to push where the dots are, flip, and slide. Okay. So, and just let me know if you have questions. I know people have different style of ink pads. So tonight I'm going to be using the color called Blackberry Bliss. Great. So I don't know if you're able to pin my hands again or to spotlight my hands again, Julia. So
yes.
that they'll be bigger screen. Okay. All right. So I'm going to use the stamp that has this wonderful big hello. And this stamp is from one of the kits that will be available at the library class tomorrow. It is called Pick of the Crop. And it's kind of like a farmer's market. Let me show you the 3 cards that the kit makes. They've got baguettes and lavender and fruits, and they're very sort of French and fun here with the die cuts and the vellum and the linen thread. And they also come with, the kit also includes this special little tote bag, a market tote bag that you can put your cards inside. So it makes 3 each of the different designs, and that's a really fun one. So the stamp set has the large words hello, and then it also has some other greetings we'll use tonight, like thinking of you, you're the greatest, or you're the sweetest, sorry, and then some lavender and berries. Let me see how you can best do that.
Unfortunately, it's only showing the one that it's using the audio for on the Facebook one.
Okay, so let's see what we can do about that. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. Golly, this is always a learning experience. Okay, so you can see on my original sample one, I put the circle in place using the dimensionals. Now, thanks to a great donation and a bonus donation last month, I was able to include a full sheet of these mini dimensionals in everybody's kit. And there's so much fun. There's a whole bunch on each page, each sheet, and they're little double-sided foam. Now, the kids at the Y really love these too. We had a good time with dimensionals today. So I want to make sure that I hit some of these edges alongside the ribbon to help lock it down. So I'm going to be pretty generous with my little stickers here. And there's the hello. Okay. And when you get to the edge of your sheet of dimensionals, I'm going to show you some ways to use that, even though it seems like you've used them up. So we'll position that like this. You'll notice on the edge of the piece of dimensionals that they aren't die cut right along the whole edge. And so when you use up all your inside pieces, then you can cut and you'll have little pieces or long strips that you can use for projects like this. Okay, so the next thing to do is to add our little gems to this hello. And I thought it would be pretty just to have 3 either along the bottom like I did in this one, or you can put them along the top. This one, let's put them along the top just so you see the variation. I love odd numbers when you add embellishments. They tend to balance your eye. You can go ahead and put some down in the bottom too if you like, or just leave it like that. Now, to secure the ribbon on the back, I used another little punched out element, which you should find, I hope, in your popsicle box, popsicle envelope here. Let's see what we can find. Yes. So this one is ready to to stamp or embellish and then secure on the back. And what that's doing is just helping that ribbon stay in place so that when people open the wallet, the ribbon doesn't fall away. It's going to be secured on the back. So I'm going to use for this stamping, I'm going to use the Thinking of You from this Pick of the Crop stamp set. I'm going to use the Blackberry Bliss again. Tap, 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 and then put it, and I'm putting it purposely kind of down in the bottom right corner here so that I have room to add the other elements. And I could use some things from this other kit, which is called Best Remedy. Let me show you. This one has a fun skunk and then some great greetings like, sorry, life stinks sometimes. And well, that stinks. And then it also has this fun little flower pot. So the skunk can actually hold the flowers, or she can hold an ice cream, because it says ice cream is the best remedy for this. And it's true, ice cream will take care of many ills. So I'm going to add this little flower pot here. And then I can take one of my little butterfly elements. So in your bundle with all the goodies in here is a strip of butterflies that are die cut and ready to punch out. And I just took one of the ones that's multicolored, and I added that with a dimensional, one of these small mini dimensionals on the back of the butterfly. And I kind of arched it so that the wings come up a little bit like that.
Neat.
Question?
No, I just said, oh, neat, and I didn't realize I was not.
No, Lisa, thank you. I'm glad you like that. Okay, so then I'm going to just add my little element there, another little gem to have some sparkle. So this is a pretty element, right? It's adding some beauty to the card. It's also working as a function of holding this down. So I'm going to use some adhesive to secure the paper right over this ribbon. And that will kind of hold the ribbon. So when the recipient opens up the wallet, the ribbon won't fall away, and then they can retie it. So I'll show you what that would be like. They'll open it up and you'll put something very special inside. It can be a love note or a photo or coupons. If any of you do couponing, a lot of us are digital coupons now, right? So I don't do as much coupon clipping as I used to, but this would be a great little coupon wallet to take with you to Tops or to Wegmans or wherever you do your shopping. And then because we've anchored it with this glue at the front and at the back, and with the dimensionals at the front, it's going to keep the ribbon from falling away so that it can be retied. And again, it's just a very soft, gauzy ribbon that's designed to kind of be vintage. So it's soft and it may fray a bit, and that's part of the design. So there's our wallet, our first project, our little wallet card tonight. Okay. So next I'm going to show you how I use these different languages. We have hope in English, in French, and in German. Now, I don't speak German. I speak un petit français, just un petit peu, little bit of French. But it looks like I've frozen again too. Let's see if we can unfreeze. I'm not sure if you can still hear me or see me.
Yes,
I think it's back now.
We can hear you and see your hands just fine.
Okay, terrific. So the pieces for these three cards, you can see I took the elements, these three, let's see here, the three sort of teal pieces, but I altered them. So I used the one in English. I punched that out, and I'll go ahead and do that now so you can see how I alter it. I just trimmed it so that it would fit nicely on that card. Again, you can use the pieces the way you like, so you may have a different plan for them. But I cut that so that it would be the right size for this card. And then for the popsicle one, I took the hope card, the hope in French, and I needed to kind of shrink it. Do you see how there's just a little bit of teal on this side and a little bit on this side. And it tricks our eye to think that it's full in the back, that it goes across, right? But that would be too big for the circle, wouldn't it? Too much, like a little of the R and of the E would show. So what I actually did was cut off that P. I just O-I-R, and then I got rid of the P. And then when this is overlapped, you kind of cover up the O and the I now. It's going to be the right size to cover with that circle. So again, I'm just going to place it here so hopefully you can see where it was cut away. All right. And then in your pocket with the popsicle should be a couple little circles. You can take that circle and stamp or draw your image onto the circle. So I'm going to use the stamp that says, "You are the sweetest." This one comes from the Farmer's Market kit, pick of the crop. And I thought "You are the sweetest" certainly works with the fruit, the blueberries and the strawberries, but it would also work with this popsicle, sweet summertime popsicle. There, "You are the sweetest." So now to shrink up this teal piece, I'm going to move away that P, and I'm just going to put some adhesive on top of the O. Now, if you speak French or German, you may want to keep these greetings, or you know someone who does. You could keep those greetings and add them to a card. That would be a really special gift to personalize it for someone who speaks that language. But I wanted to still make use of it, even though I didn't know that language myself. You could always include the full greeting, and then in your card have a little lesson, right? You can tell the recipient what that word means, hope. So here we are, "You are the sweetest." Now the popsicle element is pre-printed for us, and it's pre-scored. You'll just need to fold the paper along that crease, that score line. And then we can add this element with our dimensionals. But you'll notice here, I also used some of this fun yellow twine. And this is what I call a nest. I've just made a little bit of some loops of the yellow twine, and it will nest underneath the label. So let me show you how I do that. You want to take your little twine packet out of the plastic, and these little containers are great to store many pieces of things. If you have leftover pieces and parts, keep your little Ziploc bag, and then find the end. Sometimes you have to wiggle a little bit to find the end here. What I'm going to do is wrap it around 4 fingers. I'm going to wrap it around 3 or 4 times like this, and then I can trim it. And it often likes to twist, or it can either be one circle, or it can turn like this to make sort of 2, like an infinity loop. You can decide what you prefer or how it naturally moves. I find that you really don't want to argue too much, not argue, but you really don't want to fuss or worry too much about the twine. Sometimes baker's twine just has a way that it likes to fall based on how it's been wrapped. For a while now, it's kind of been used to in that position. So I like to let it sort of do its own thing and not worry. See, automatically it kind of wants to go into that infinity loop, okay? Or you can kind of smush it and make it as much of a nest as you like. So I'll have one that's a little messier, and then you'll see my original one, the twine naturally fell into that infinity loop. It really doesn't matter because we're going to put the label on top. Using the mini dimensionals, we'll take some of these and add them to the back. And you can be generous. You have a whole sheet to play with. I hope you'll enjoy those. We're going to peel off the little wax liners. And then this one, I'm just going to let it be messy like that. I'm going to stick, whoops, I want my little liner out of the way there. These will end up all over your house, so don't be surprised. They'll end up everywhere you go, and it'll delight your family to find the little pieces. So here I'm letting it be a messy nest. And then I'm going to stick this down so that enough pieces of it stick out. Got to spread it out a little bit more because I want part of it to show. I don't want it to be all hidden. And that's kind of like a nest. So it's up to you. You can make it a little more neat, or you can let it do its thing and be a nest. Usually on camera, it doesn't want to cooperate quite as much, but you get the gist here of how you can fiddle around with the position of the twine. Some people leave the twine off completely because they don't like the mess of it, or they might tie a knot like around the popsicle stick. And we're going to use the twine in a different way in the other cards, so you'll get some ideas for that. Let's go ahead and add some more of our sparkles here. You are the sweetest. Again, I'm using 3, and this time in a triangular pattern, so my eye is going to move around to read the greeting. You are the sweetest. Okay. So this one has an envelope that has a really pretty rainbow printed inside. If you want, you can tuck it into your envelope. It just needs to go on its side. You can also put it inside your wallet that you made if you want to add this fun insert to your wallet along with whatever else you might add, some cash or a photo or a love note. Okay, so there's this one. I'll set that aside and I'll show you next. We're going to bring in these 3 cards so we can take a look at the elements that we want to use. Now, this card comes with a piece that's die cut for you already, and I just love the simplicity of that. So the way that I altered the design was simply adding some twine and this little element on top. So we're going to find our other circle and one of those little butterflies, and then this die cut element. So this is going to look, it hasn't been punched out yet in your kit. And so you will want to find this piece like this, and then it's quite fragile. So you'll gently punch it out of this outside piece, which you could use for a stencil for something if you like, or however you decide. There. So we have this beautiful die cut, laser cut piece with the butterflies, and that's going to lay on top of the card that's printed with these swirls, and you can kind of look like a watercolor pattern behind them. When we add this on top, you'll see how it just really makes those colors jump. The butterflies have more background color behind them. And to adhere this, I'm going to put glue just strategically in a few small places. Now you could also use your dimensionals here, and it will create kind of a shadow on your card, which would be lovely as well. So you're welcome to use your dimensionals, and I would put them right on the larger parts of the images, or you can use a liquid glue or a few of little glue dots, that would work. You really just need it in a few places to anchor this card, this front to the card. Okay. So then we're going to put it, and you'll notice how it's designed to layer on top. So these little reddish parts go on top of the orange flower, and behind all the butterflies, there's some pretty shading with the purple and pink tones. I really like this card. I hope you will as well. You can fold on that crease, the score line.
That's really cute.
Isn't it pretty? And I think it's nice. I mean, clearly we think of butterflies more in the springtime and summertime, but I think this would be such a cheerful card all year round. It's just a very positive card with the flowers and with the butterflies. And so I thought the greeting, thinking of you, was appropriate. Thinking of you can be shared for any occasion. And it doesn't even need to be a special occasion. It's just, I'm thinking of you. And so it's a great, thinking of you cards are wonderful to have in your stash for when you just want to send some love to someone. You might want to pass it out to somebody in your neighborhood if you're bake some cookies for them, or if there's been a sadness or loss in their life, or they just need some joy. So thinking of you is a nice one to have on hand. Before we create the element to go on top, let's use our yellow twine to create this this texture across the card. And what I do for that is I wrap the card 3 times, the card front. So I'm going to open up the card, and then I'm going to leave a little tail of this twine here so that I have some room to make a bow. I'm going to wrap it 3 times. You have lots of twine in your kit here, so you can be generous wrapping it 3 times. And then you'll see I have a tail. My first tail was over here, and the other tail is going to come over to the left, and I'll cut that. I like to have a generous amount of twine or ribbon to work with. So you may decide to trim the bow after you make it, but I like to have room to make some generous loops. So again, bows don't have to be intimidating. It's just like tying your shoes. You're going to, however you make the bunny loops to tie your shoes, or however you learned, you're going to make it so it has the 2 loops and then the 2 tails. And what's nice again is because this twine has been trained to have that circle shape, you're going to have a little bit of nice curl in your twine as well. Okay. I just found that I didn't want to use a real wide ribbon here because this already has so much pattern to it. So the twine was a good alternative to a larger ribbon. Although remember, you love this ribbon, this wide ribbon. If you don't use it for your wallet, you can use that on any of the cards. But for me, there was so much beauty and texture in the design. I didn't want to cover up too much of it. So I'd see if we can find, you should have another little circle. And we're going to do a thinking of you with that. Let me get the stamp ready for that. And I'm going to add thinking of you, and it's a little bit down to the bottom of, I'm putting my word so that I'll have room to put my butterfly up at the top. Okay, because I have another one of these die cut elements. I know this kit's a little bit more confusing tonight because I didn't separate each card part individually. It's kind of like a collection of pieces that you're using. So thanks for your patience with as kind of like a treasure hunt, finding your pieces. I want to let you know that next month we are going to do Connie, who's sometimes on the call tonight. I don't see her tonight. She suggested a really cool paper engineering project, which the card looks a little bit like, when it's open, it looks like a box, but it can fold flat to fit into the envelope. So I'm having fun designing that for you. So if you have any particular things, if you see something on Pinterest or even something that you see in a store that you're curious about the design, then that's a fun challenge for me to create the pieces and parts for us to do at the library. So next month we'll be making, inspired by Connie's choice, we're going to be making a box card. And that's all I'll tell you. So you can be wondering about that. So the thinking of you now, I'm going to add a few of those gems. That around the edge here. And I'll adhere that with some of the dimensionals. So again, I want the dimensionals, some are going to fall above the twine and some behind it, so it will balance. Sometimes if you have dimensionals that are right on top of a ribbon, then it won't lay as flat. So you kind of just plan out where you want it to go, and then you can position your dimensionals above and below the twine. Okay. There. So there's our thinking of you card with that really pretty die cut. I think this is one, it's hard to see the beauty of it on camera, but in person you'll notice all of that detail, and it's so lovely. All right, next let's do the one that we're gonna, where we cut off those edges and we have the word hope. And I punched for you a little cloud shape with the basic white paper. It looks like this. I keep laughing at my inky fingers. I always say to the kids, it's not a good day unless there's ink on your fingers. And they loved getting messy today. But if the messiness bothers you, hand sanitizer, because of the alcohol content, will help to remove ink. And also when you wash your hair, shampoo tends to have a little more ingredients than just a hand soap. So I always figure when I wash my hair tomorrow, my hands will be clean. All right, so for the card base, we have this really pretty pool party color. I'm gonna fold that. And oftentimes when items come in a kit, there'll be options for you because you can have the white side or the pool party side. The card that I'll be making for you next month uses cardstock that's the same on both sides for the box card. And I love that. It tends to be a little bit heavier cardstock, but the kit ones give you some nice versatility. Okay, let's see what else we need for this. We need some more of our butterflies, right? So we'll find the strip of the colorful butterflies. And again, you'll notice for the next card, I saved out the little purple one, but you can choose of your butterflies how you want to use them. I'm going to take the same ones here, the pink, the teal, and the yellow. And that's going to pull together the colors that are in this watercolored piece. There we are. So let's see, I've got a piece that's called Bermuda Bay, and it has some speckling on it. I love that that texture is in place for me already. And then this beautiful watercolor sky. I think it's the sky. It could be whatever you like it to be. Because of I chose the cloud image because to me this looked like a sky. Now here's an opportunity where you can make your card a landscape card or a portrait card, depending on how you want to manipulate the pieces. So you'll notice here that my twine wraps around just the watercolor piece, not the teal piece. So let's go ahead and do that part so that I don't forget and glue it down because that can happen. And I want the twine to just wrap around this watercolor piece. So using the same idea that we did for the other card, we're going to leave a tail. So I have some ribbon to tie. And then I'll wrap 3 times, 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to leave a tail in the opposite direction. And then I'm going to tie this just like I'm tying my shoes. So I go left over right. And a nice tip for when you're tying bows with ribbon or twine is if you pull it to make it like a plus sign or a cross, that will help the loops lay in the right direction. So if when you do the left over right, then you kind of tug it so it's perpendicular, that will help. And we're going to make a loop and another loop. And again, the twine, because it's been twisted on that little roll, it should have a little bit of swirl to it still, which is nice. And here's where you'll see why I chose to cut the hope a little bit smaller. If I kept it the original size, then it would have felt a little bit large for this. I feel it would have felt a little bit large. You can still make it work, but I wanted to trim it down so that the word hope would fit across the twine. Okay, and we're going to add that with the dimensionals. Again, I'm placing them on the top and on the bottom of the element so that the middle space is free where the ribbon will lay. All right. So I always enjoy hearing who you might want to send these to. If as you make it, sometimes our heart says, oh, this is a perfect card to send to my aunt or to a friend from college or so on. So if you want to share in the comments or go off mute so we can hear you, I'd love to hear if there's any of these cards that have really, if you think, oh, this is a perfect card to send away to a particular friend or family member. Going to add my cloud up here at the top with those dimensionals. And then I also remember now have my little butterflies. So mine are hiding somewhere. Here they are. And I chose to kind of like I did with the other butterfly, fold it a little bit just to give a tiny crease to those wings. And then add a dimensional. Now the dimensionals are a little bit too big here. If you want to cut it in half, you can do that. I wasn't worried too much about a little bit of the dimensional showing because it's on this white background here. But again, I'll show you what you can do is just from the edge of your dimensional sheet, you can just cut a little square piece like this. And that will probably, can you see that okay up here? It's just a small piece from the edge, and I can take that and add it, and that way it will fit a little bit better on the butterfly. It won't hang over the edge of the die cut piece. I don't know if it's easy to see that. There it is. Okay. And that's just because it's nice to use all the pieces and parts of your adhesive here. So I'm just cutting a tiny piece from the edge, just a little piece.
A little thing I did that with just slicing off the edge of the dimensional so that this butterfly could,
Perfect.
one of the small butterflies, and it wouldn't stick to the paper unless I had something very narrow, and I don't have Tombow glue, so I used a dimensional.
Great. So just a sliver of the foam, right? You could cut one. Excellent. That's great. Oh, it looks beautiful on the wallet there. I like that.
Yeah.
Excellent. So I've added my 3 butterflies here, and you can see to add just a little bit of sparkle now, I'm going to put those sequins here, just on the sort of the body near the head of the butterfly. 1, 2, and 3. I love these because they already have the adhesive right on there for me. And now, since we remembered to put our twine around this layer, now we can assemble the rest of the card. So I'm going to place the green layer, the Bermuda Bay layer, with my Tombow glue, or you can use dimensionals and make it a real pop-up card too. Okay. We'll smooth that around. And then this one I'm going to add with dimensionals. And anytime I have ribbon or twine, I do like to use the dimensionals for that layer. Because if you don't, it sometimes is hard to get it to lay flat because it's got the depth of this ribbon underneath. So by adding it with dimensionals, it gives room for that ribbon to have a little cushion instead of being smushed down hard. I also just really loved using the dimensionals on all my projects. I always have many of these in my stash. And I like that on the mini sheets, you're left with a nice long strip that you can use differently since that part isn't die cut on the edges. So we're working along. Thanks everybody for your patience with the technology challenges tonight. I'm learning all the time. There we are. So now this one is ready as well. And we have one more to finish using the hope with the German word hope. Okay, so I'll set these aside and pull in this last sample for you. And this uses that pretty pink card base. Some more of the twine. And if you can find your other little butterfly, I have a purple one left. If you don't have a butterfly left, that's okay. You can do a greeting that fills this whole element, or you can cut apart, you know, something else that you have in your stash to add. But what I liked with this one is I could take the banner, and I'll hopefully find my banner. That was with my ice cream card. Let's see. And the banner is going to cover up that word that's in German and just leave a nice border of this teal color, this Bermuda Bay. Here's my piece. So again, this means hope in German. And so you might want your card to say that, and it will work out really beautifully to add that there. But if you wanted to have it have a different message, it's sized really nicely to put the banner right on top, and so you're still making use of this piece of printed paper. Now the I'm Here For You is part of the skunk set again, and I want to show you while I'm thinking of it. I'll show you those 2 of those cards that are part of the Best Remedy card kit. And I love this one. It's got some embossed papers. The pink part has this little swirly design in it that you can feel. It's a raised embossed design. Some more fun sequins in this kit. You'll notice those printed envelopes. And then here's another example of it that has this sweet little bird. A little birdie told me you were under the weather. So again, this has embossing as well. You can see those vertical stripes and you can feel them. You've heard me say before that my family always likes the cards that have textures to feel, whether it's ribbon or sequins or paper that's been embossed. So those are part of the Best Remedy kit.
Is that the kit you're doing tomorrow?
Tomorrow, yes. So that's
Okay.
the one being featured tomorrow. And then the third card has the skunk on it. So you make 3 each of those different designs. But I also have a few other options. One that's been very popular is this birthday one, which has some sparkly glitter paper in it and some gems. And that makes, I believe, 4 each of these 2 designs, which are really happy birthday cards for anybody who's celebrating a birthday, no matter their age, no matter where they live. It's just fun, all the polka dots and patterns. And then the other kit that I'll have as an option tomorrow is called A Million Thanks. And this one, I believe there are 4 different cards that it makes. And you can see some lovely embossing here. That shine is embossed right onto the paper for you. So these are a lot of fun as well. And we always need thank you cards. So this has been a popular choice. And I do have some of these left over to share tomorrow. Okay, super. So for our final card tonight, let's find the pink card base that has these speckles printed on it, like this. And then these little banner pieces, I think they kind of look like mermaids. And in fact, we did make a mermaid card months ago with this kit where we used the little scale piece to punch out a tail for the mermaid. But these are all in one piece, ready to punch out. They've been die cut. And it's fun to position them on the card however you would like. And I chose to make this a landscape card instead of a portrait card, mainly because I wanted the ribbon, the twine, to wrap around in the card. But if you want to make it as a portrait card tonight, you could still do that. Your ribbon would just be along the top and bottom instead of from side to side. And then you can put them in any order that you like. I'll do it in the same that I had, just because I like kind of changing up the different patterns. So this one is quite similar here with the blue both at the bottom. So I flipped it so the blue would be at the top and it would just have a little bit more contrast. And then same with these. I have the purple at the top and the purple at the bottom, just so there's a lot of movement here with the colors. And these we can anchor to the card, either straight, if you like things to be very symmetric, or you can kind of have them dance, which is usually my preference, to let the paper kind of move and groove. So I'm going to use my Tombow glue, just a little thread of glue on each piece to anchor them on my card. Like this, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I love the variety of the pattern of these. What they remind me of is a batik, wax resist. And you may have had the chance to play with either fabric or paper with that batik method. It looks to me like if you were making batik with this, you would put the wax or the Ukrainian eggs, right, Julia, when we had the privilege of doing that. It's a similar idea where you lay down wax, and then when you put ink over it, what you've put the wax down on will stay, it won't be colored. So it would be if you took a wax crayon and colored these flowers and then brush stroke the colors on top of them, there will be a wax resist. So that's what this paper reminds me of. I think it's really lovely. So once I've anchored those, I can take some more of my twine. And the same technique, I'm going to leave a tail. Got to open my card though, because I want the recipient to be able to open it. I don't want to tie it closed. I'm going to leave the tail here so that I can tie it. I'm going to wrap 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. And then I'm going to leave a tail off to the left so that I can tie a bow here. I'm going to take both ends, overlap, pull it so it's a vertical, perpendicular here. That's just going to help me tighten this. If you have somebody there that can hold this when you do the knot, that helps too. But if you don't, I find if I pull it vertically, it helps keep that tight for me. I'm going to make a loop like this and tie it around. So that's a technique we used on several of our cards tonight to be able to make it a little bit thicker. It's got the 3 strands, and you could even separate them a little bit if you like, so they show off as 3 separate pieces a little bit more.
And you could slide them up and down a little bit too if you wanted them in the middle or.
Exactly. They can be anywhere on the card that you like. That would be, you could have it more centered, or you can have it up near the top. I'm going to keep mine a little bit toward the bottom, just a little bit. And you'll see how I'm stretching it out so that they have a little more visual interest here, the separation when I put my words on top. It almost looks like I've wrapped it so that differently, so that the 3 strands are coming out like cat's whiskers. Okay, do you see that? Mm-hmm. So that's a little different from my original one. This one, I kept them straight, and it just makes it a little more solid piece of color. Whereas here I'm making that cat whiskers look. Okay. So I'm going to stamp my little banner with the words, "I'm here for you." And that again is from the Best Remedy kit. Okay. And I'm going to put it over to the right a little bit because I have room for my butterfly. But depending on the greeting or what you write, you can center it or you can keep it off to the edge there, off-centered. Here's my little butterfly to add. I'm going to take another little piece of my edge of my dimensionals, just so I have this small piece of foam to put on the back of the purple butterfly. Remove the wax paper liner. Just kind of wiggle the butterfly's wings a little so they will arch a little bit like that. Okay, so we're going to cover up. That means hope. We don't want to hide hope. We want to let hope shine, but in this case, I'm going to cover it with the banner. Now you can use dimensionals, or you can just place it on there with Tombow glue or flat to make it flat. I think on my original one, I popped it up because like I told you, I almost always pop things up. I love the dimensionals. So this one now, when I put my dimensionals, remember, I'm just going to put them at the top and the bottom. So they'll leave room for that twine to lay. The twine is not very thick, so it's not as important, but when you're working with a more bulky ribbon or embellishment, then this is a good trick to leave where the ribbon will be, to leave that flat without the dimensionals. If anybody has any questions, questions help me learn things, so I love when people ask questions, or if you have other comments. And like I suggested, I do enjoy recommendations for things you'd like to learn. So if you see something you're curious about, just like Connie was curious about this box card that we're going to make next time, then let me know. And I'm just going to finish up this card with some of these pretty sequins. I'm going to add one to the butterfly. And then I'm going to make just sort of randomly a triangle pattern here. You have quite a few sequins remaining, so you can use them however you like, but I'm just going to dance them 1, 2, and then the 3 down here. So along with this one, it's going to pull our eyes in the triangle shape. I'm here for you, which is a great message for people, whatever their circumstances. If these are a little too long, you can trim it. This one's maybe a little bit too long. When I put it in my envelope, I don't want it to get all caught up.
Yeah.
So let's pull back in the things that we've made. And if you have comments or questions, please add them to our, you can go off mute to tell me, or you can put them in the chat. And I know we're good later on at checking the chat on Facebook too, if people have comments. And let's see the wallet that we made at first. Let's bring that one in too. There. So I hope you've enjoyed these happy colors and cheerful greetings that are great for people, no matter the occasion. You notice we didn't do any birthday tonight, although you are the sweetest would be a happy birthday card, wouldn't it, with a popsicle? Thinking of you. Any of them could be great for a birthday occasion. But I do enjoy having sentiments that are more versatile so that you can have them in your stash and ready to go when you need a special card.
Yeah, the wallet you gave me, I put a stamp on it that makes it into a birthday card.
Very good. Hooray. So then they can have surprises inside.
Yeah,
very good.
My stepmom has a birthday this month. So
Marvelous. Oh, I'm so glad to hear. You know how much it gives me pleasure to know that people are putting their cards to use, because we want to make a card and we want to send a card, right? We want to put them out, the joy out into the world. And especially now, I encourage you to send a card to a young person who doesn't really know about envelopes yet. Okay. Because that surprised me so much, but it will be so much fun for a young person in your life to receive a treasured card from you. And that can also help them understand how our postal system works and how envelopes work. Great. Julia, as always, I thank you for your patience and your support and the great pleasure we have of sharing this together. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Missy.
Indeed. So I'll look forward to seeing those of you can join me in person tomorrow. I'll look forward to doing Let's Kit together tomorrow morning. And otherwise, I'll look forward to our next Zoom and Facebook session in September. And like I said, we'll be paper engineers. So be ready to do some cool folding and adhering with the special box card next time. Thank you so much, everybody.
Nancy Cross says thanks.
Oh, my pleasure, Nancy. Nice to talk and see all of you tonight. Thank you. Good night.